Solana's, in my opinion, more future-proof. Now, what does future-proof mean? We don't know what the future holds, but what we can say is, well, where are we at right now and where are we headed? So on the Ethereum side of things, the Ethereum thesis is that you have an L1, which is slow and clunky, but they want to optimize for decentralization and so on and all that sort of stuff, which, by the way, Lido has like, what is it, 40% of stake or 30 something? So it's like, it's not really decentralized.
An alarming amount.
Yeah, so it's okay, an alarming amount. So, okay, but that's the thesis. But they say, yes, but the activity will happen on L2s, right? And L2s are these branches off Ethereum that are kind of separate things, like whether it's Base or whether it's Optimism or something like that. And then that's where the activity will happen. But all of those L2s will have sequences that inherit the security of Ethereum, is what people say, whereby transactions are settled, bridged across between the L1 and the L2, and that transaction finality happens on the L1. What we're seeing with L2s is a lot of them just have a multi-sig in terms of their security, that if the voters on that multi-sig council were to choose one way or the other, they could, in some cases, like just take the assets of users. Mm-hmm. So does it, quote, inherit the security of Ethereum? No, not really. It's kind of up to the whole L2 in the first place, right? Base is operated by Coinbase. They're a regulated, publicly listed entity. I dare say that you have to take into account that if you're operating on an L2 run by some company or something like that, they might be more willing to have the operations of that L2 maybe be more centralized in some way. Obviously, every L2 is different, but the general thesis is that there's a lot of L2s out there which are not actually decentralized. Ethereum itself, kind of not really that decentralized. Okay, so the decentralization aspect, not a huge bonus, I guess, in the Ethereum camp. The scalability aspect of Ethereum, I mean, it's nowhere to be seen. Like I said, 7 transactions a second, like, bro, you're not even in the same universe. So, okay, on that front, in terms of cost, I've paid $2,000 worth of Ethereum for a transaction once. When gas fees was spiking, this was years ago, but it still happens every now and then in bull markets and different thing launches, whatever. Prices go up way too high. Now, Ethereum people will say, oh, but people are paying for good things, and that's why you're willing to do it. Now, I was willing to do that transaction because, yes, it was better that I paid that fee than I not. The problem is that the good things are no longer happening there. Mm-hmm. So now no one's paying the fees. So the rise of Solana and how everything's happening over there now in terms of like user base and all that sort of stuff, like activity, like active wallet addresses, contracts, like people, volume of dexes, or Solana's literally like number one, if not number two in most places. So it's like the activity is no longer there. So if your argument is people are willing to pay $2,000 because literally that's the only game in town, there is another game in town now. There's more competition, and people are not willing to pay $2,000 because at the other game you don't have to. So if we're using the word future-proof, what's more future-proof? I would say that Solana's heading in a much better direction than Ethereum is. And that's why we're on Solana, and that's why we sort of focused on it for the last few years. Look, I was around when Ethereum first started. It literally did its ICO. I've seen all of it. Okay, the DAO hack, and it forked and all this kind of... I've seen it all grow up. It's kind of stagnated, much like Bitcoin did after the block size wars. That happens, it seems, in crypto after a while. And you get people that are entrenched and they have a very ideologically like oriented view of what it should be, and Ethereum should be this, and that's how it's going to be, and that holds back evolution of that chain. So Solana's not perfect by any means, and if something better comes along, then we will absolutely consider that, right? I just think that Solana's the best game in town at the moment.